This lesson is going to be a quick code review of all the functionality that we looked at in the earlier lessons. We created div in order to contain a message for the user, as well as a button to create interaction for the user in order to interact with our application. Setting up a global variable, we called it counter, so that we can interact with this value and we can use it within our coding. Let's open this up bigger. We contained all of our functionality within one main function. We added an event listener to the document object, and this event listener was listening for the DOM content loaded event. Once that event fires off, so once it loads the page, we invoked the functions. This was an anonymous function that's contained within the event listener, and we had all of our functionality. So we selected elements. We selected the body element. That's the only HTML one that we had. We also selected output. We created an output. We created an object called output and created an element, which was a div, added text to the div, applied some styling to that element. We also added in a class of message to the element, and then we added it into our body object that we had selected earlier from our HTML. Next, we went on to the button. So the same as when we created the div, we created a button element using the create element method in JavaScript, added some HTML. It could also be inner text as well. We applied a whole bunch of styling. And you're probably looking at this and saying, okay, well, this was probably easier done in CSS, and you're probably right. But of course, we do want to practice JavaScript. So hence all of the different statements there, applying various styling properties to that element. So once we've constructed the element, we add the event listener. And it actually doesn't matter which order, so you could do the HTML after, the styling, you could mix and mingle them. I usually like to keep them all separated out, but it's up to you, whatever your format and you're most comfortable with. So we added an event listener, so just as if we were to select the element from the page into an object format in JavaScript, and then the rest is the same where we add the event listener. The event listener that we added in was a click event. We can get rid of this console message because we don't need that anymore. And we're incrementing that counter object, that counter value that we set as a global value, and creating a message that we can output to the user. And then using our document query selector, we're selecting an element on the page, and the element that we're selecting is message. And we know that this exists because we created it up here. And then updating the inner HTML of that message object to whatever the value of mess is. So that's the one that we created over here. And then once we've added in the event listener, what we do is we append that button to the body, and that makes it show up within our HTML and gives the user the ability to see the button and also click the button. So go ahead and try this out for yourself. Get familiar with creating elements and also adding event listeners to those elements.